I used to be someone who had a belief in God. Not sure if it was any kind of God that belonged to a particular religion, but I believed in some kind of deity figure all the same. I was raised by a mother who was predominantly Hindu, but throughout her life grew more attached to esoteric beliefs in New Age types of systems of spirituality. You know, everything from tarot cards, messages from angels, to healing crystals and the like. And I think as a young boy, that had a huge effect on me. You know, whenever I felt intimidated, frightened or scared by either something I had to do or something that was happening to me, it was always reassuring to hear from my mum that don't worry, you know, pray to God, everything will be all right. Or in the case of her particular beliefs, pray to the goddess and everything will be all right. She was a very big fan of the Hindu goddess Kali, as well as all the other stuff that got mixed into it as well. And I think, you know, when someone says that to you, who's a parent figure, and you're so young, you really do believe it. And because you believe it, you then are not scared, or you're not that frightened. When that happens, I guess it kind of reinforces and reinvigorates your belief in this kind of system. But as I grew older, I realized that Mum often used her beliefs as a way of, I guess you could say, checking out of reality or checking out of the facts. You know, if she wanted to win an argument, she could just use her beliefs to kind of, say, I'm just right because of ABC, or I saw it in a dream, or a psychic told me that I went to, or the angels whispered to me, or the ghost of my dead relatives told me this, that, and the other. And obviously the older I got and the more into adulthood, I realized how much all those stories from when I was a kid were kind of crap. And it's hard to kind of speak about sometimes because my mother passed away at the beginning of this year. And up until then, she never gave up on her beliefs and never conceded anything that she thought was right in her mind because the spirit told her, or because her dreams told her. Basically, that whole experience with her, and it was quite detrimental to me growing up, and the more of an issue it became in both her marriage and her family and her relationship to her children, and how destructive it became, these beliefs, because she was really big on forcing it, you know, making other people accept it as the only reality and the only choice. And, you know, I would grow up and I would find myself, when I was in times of trouble, you know, praying to a God I wasn't sure existed, or when I was a kid I believed he existed. And the older I got and the more frayed that belief became, the more I was questioning what I was doing, getting on my hands and knees and asking for guidance that kind of ultimately never came. Even though that sounds like I'm talking that I'm not very religious, and I'm not religious at all, I should say. I wouldn't say that doesn't mean I am an atheist. And I guess I'll kind of try and explain why I'm an agnostic and why that's been, if you can call it a belief system, is something that I choose to follow. Or follow might not be the right word, actually. Kind of thing. It's not like there's priests or monks of agnosticism wandering around, and if there are, I guess let me know about it. I guess Haruki Murakami, one of my favorite authors, the Japanese author, he explained in one of his forwards to one of his books or short story collections, where he basically sometimes looks at writing this particular way, where he's some kind of miner chipping away at a vein of mineral or water or something like that, and that obviously you need all the tools, like a hammer or a chisel to get to that vein, as in, you need those creative skills to write or to play music, to make a video or to do something like that, make a film or even play a sport, all these things like that. You need the tools to get to the vein, but once you get to that vein of mineral, It basically is, it's almost like just seeping into your hand and coming to you. And that's the magic stuff. And that's the stuff that I feel like, as a creative person, that feels otherworldly to me and that I just can't explain. And I'm not explaining it very good here, but I think for those people out there, maybe you get what I mean. There is something that transcends my senses when I'm quote unquote in the zone. And I thought being in the zone was really greatly represented in the recent Pixar film Soul. That takes you to another plane, whether it's another plane of existence or whether it's just inside yourself. You know, there could be nothing mystical or spiritual about it, but for me, it has always felt that way, and I don't always get there. And you need to sharpen that toolkit, get that chisel and hammer out, and go at it. But sometimes, even if it's just for a few minutes, you just hit that plateau where suddenly it feels like you're in the presence of something much greater than yourself. It's the unknown energy, the field, maybe, and the force. Call it what you will, but I do think something like that exists. I feel it, especially being doing creative endeavors. And that's why I feel like I'm an agnostic, purely for that reason, because I feel like at times I've been in touch with something that is beyond myself into this other realm, and it's the closest thing that I can understand to be some kind of religious moment, I guess, or spiritual moment. And maybe I just sound like a crackpot, but maybe because I do have a poetic and romanticized version of the world in my head sometimes, especially being someone who writes fiction and fantasy, science fiction. Maybe it comforts me to think that there's something magical about the world, and even if it's just in my own head. So that's why I'll always say that I'm probably always going to be agnostic, because A, I just don't know, and I think that's kind of exciting, and B, it gives me a little bit more magic. It makes me think that there's something remarkable in the world that is unseen but there. And I think in a strange kind of way, as much as those early stories from my mum about God or the goddess assisting me in times of trouble or times of doubt, I think this belief in this magic of the world, I guess you could say, I keep using that word now, I don't know, I'm stuck in it, but perhaps that is the thing that comforts me now throughout life. This thing that I can't explain, but I know it's there, and just by it existing in some form or other, it gives me some respite from my troubles. I don't know. I'd be curious to see what you guys think, or if this was all just a rambling mess. But let me please know down in the comments if you like what I do. Subscribe. I like to talk about my writing. I like to talk about films. I like to talk about all sorts of stuff and creativity in general, and sometimes like to act pretty badly in some of these videos that I make, so do watch out for that. But until next time, thanks so much for tuning in, and take care.